She ran 8 kilometers with her son in her arms, and a miracle carried her at the end. The woman who ran 8 km with her son in her arms. She didn't know that would be the last apple she'd ever slice in that kitchen, or that the little plastic spoon in her son's mouth would be the last thing left untouched in that house. When the floor shook for the first time, the knife was still in her hand. When the window cracked, she thought it was the wind. But when the animals screamed, that sound that doesn't come from the throat, but from the gut, she knew there was no time to think, no time for shoes, no time for words. She grabbed her son and started running, and she didn't stop for 8 kilometers, barefoot, with the mountain collapsing behind her, with her heart pounding so loud it felt like God was running beside her. What was coming wasn't rain, wasn't wind, it was the whole mountain falling, and there she was, alone, with a 2-year-old in her arms, eyes full of fear, body seconds away from collapsing, but something lifted her. And that's why you're hearing this story today. 6:42 a.m., the minute the world changed. There was no warning, no alarm, no wind, only silence, heavy, strange, like the earth had held its breath. Sarah stood barefoot on the cold wood floor of her kitchen, slicing apples for her son's breakfast. The knife tapped rhythmically against the cutting board, the kind of rhythm your body follows without thinking. On the stove, the kettle had just begun to hiss, letting out a thin white stream of steam. Outside, fog still covered the field. Dew clung to the clothesline. 2 goats moved lazily near the back fence. Caleb was in the next room, babbling to himself, chewing on a plastic spoon, still in his diaper, hair messy with sleep. Sarah was thinking about eggs, thinking maybe today she'd fix the clothesline. Everything felt ordinary, too ordinary. And then the house moved. At first, just a creak in the floor, a strange vibration under her feet. She paused, hand still on the apple. 1 second later, the kettle began to shake on the burner and the radio cut off. She looked through the kitchen window. At first, she didn't understand what she was seeing. The trees on the hill behind the house, they weren't standing still. They were shifting, moving from the roots, sliding. Then came the sound. It wasn't thunder, it was deeper, older, a rumble rising from the belly of the mountain, like the earth was splitting in half. She dropped the knife, her lungs locked. She ran to the living room and saw Caleb on the rug, spoon still in his mouth, looking up with sleepy eyes. She didn't think, didn't grab shoes, or her phone, or a coat. Her body acted before her mind could catch up. She scooped him up with both arms, held him tight to her chest, and ran. She burst out the front door, her feet sinking into wet grass and patches of mud. The screen door slammed behind her with a loud bang, a sound she wouldn't remember until much later, when silence returned. The world behind her, Dew, was roaring, and when she dared to look back, just once, she saw it. The mountain was falling. A wave of black earth, wide as a highway, crashing down, tearing trees from the ground, swallowing fences, animals, lives. It was coming for them. She screamed, not in fear, in desperation, "Jesus! Jesus, help me!" And again, running with cut feet, her son shaking in her arms, her soul burning raw. "Please, God, help us. Please don't let him die." She didn't know if God could hear her, but it was all she had left. Her feet tore through the earth, stones, thorns, glass. Her breathing came in sharp, panicked bursts. Caleb was crying now, a soft, confused cry buried in her neck. He didn't understand, and that broke her. She ran past the barrel where she used to wash his clothes, past the rain drum, the broken swing, the tree where their initials were carved. She ran 1 kilometer, then 2. She didn't stop. Her arms trembled, her chest burned, her vision blurred. But something inside her, deeper than muscle, deeper than instinct, pushed her forward. She didn't look back again, because somewhere inside her she already knew, if I look back, I stop. And if I stop, we die. At kilometer 3, she nearly fell. Her foot landed wrong on a rock. Her ankle twisted. Pain shot up her leg. She stumbled, but didn't fall. Her other foot caught her just in time. Caleb clung tighter. She whispered, "It's okay, baby. We're okay." Tears ran down her face, not from pain but from fear she couldn't name. Behind her the sound grew louder, closer, like something alive, something hunting. From kilometer 4 to 5 she stopped thinking altogether. No plans, no fear, no future, just breath, step, hold, pray. She couldn't feel her feet anymore. She didn't know if she was bleeding, but she felt her son's chest rising and falling, and that was all that mattered. And then, somewhere near kilometer 6, her body started to shut down. By kilometer 6, her body had begun to shut down. But this time, it wasn't just pain. It was something deeper, like her soul was slowly letting go. Her legs shook violently, her arms trembled. She could no longer feel her feet. Her chest rose in broken, shallow gasps. She whispered, I can't anymore." And then came the most dangerous thought of all. Maybe if I fall here, he won't feel it. Maybe it'll be quick. Maybe God will understand. She closed her eyes for just 1 second, ready to collapse, ready to stop. But then something stirred inside her, not around her, not a light from the sky. It was within, a quiet presence, strong, still, solid. It didn't push, it held, as if someone had slipped an invisible arm inside her spine and whispered without words, "You're not finished. Keep going. I'm here." At that moment, Caleb, barely awake, barely breathing, lifted his little hand and touched her cheek. It was the softest touch, but it reached somewhere deep. Sarah opened her eyes, looked at her son, and saw no fear, only peace. That peace entered her like a slow wave of light. She took 1 step, then another, and another. Not running, not sprinting, just walking forward, carried by something that didn't belong to her muscles anymore. The last 2 kilometers felt unreal. The world narrowed into a tunnel. All she could hear was Caleb's breath against her neck and her feet pressing forward into the earth. She didn't know how, but she knew this. She wasn't alone. And then, finally, the road, the highway, blacktop and white lines, the proof that she had made it. A blue pickup truck screeched to a stop. A man jumped out, shaking, staring in disbelief. "Ma'am, are you alive? I saw the landslide from up the hill. I thought nobody made it out." Sarah dropped to her knees, still holding her son, still breathing, still alive. Caleb had fallen asleep, peaceful, like he'd never even seen the mountain fall. At the emergency station, doctors washed her feet, wrapped her wounds, spoke gently. But Sarah didn't say much. She just held her son. One doctor whispered, "Ma'am, he's perfect. No injuries, no bruising. Heartbeat normal, he's fine." A nurse touched her arm and said softly, This was a miracle." Sarah didn't answer. She didn't need to. She'd known that since the moment she took that step at kilometer 6, since the moment Caleb touched her cheek, since the moment something bigger than fear carried her forward. That night, the news showed aerial footage. The valley was gone, wiped clean. 14 homes buried, dozens missing. Among them, Sarah's. The official time of the collapse, 6:45 a.m. Sarah had run out at 6:44, 1 minute, 60 seconds, between death and deliverance. Between being buried alive and being carried into life again. Today, Sarah lives somewhere quieter. She doesn't tell the full story often, not because she's afraid, but because some things speak louder in silence. When people ask her how she did it, 8 kilometers, barefoot with a child in her arms, running from a mountain, she gives a small smile and says quietly, "I didn't run alone." If this story touched your heart, if something stirred inside you as you listened, subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't just tell stories, we tell truth. We bring to light what most people never see, the strength of a mother, the power of prayer, and the God who shows up in the darkest minute right on time. Hit that subscribe button. Join us. You might need the next story more than you think. God bless you. See you soon.